Hello, everybody. It's Jeff here with the Freedom Nation podcast once again. And we're back from our couple weeks break and speaking to a new friend out in the Azores, Matthieu Mehuys. And he's got his own business and he's had a really interesting life. He started out as a 9 to 5er, just like all of us did. And he made the switch to travel the world a little bit. He was not feeling fulfilled with what he's doing, but he loved what he did, which is he was a landscape architect. And we're going to hear his story about how he really morphed that and gets to live wherever he wants, still do his job, and he's got clients all over the world, which you wouldn't think with somebody that is a landscape architect. So hang on, we'll be right back with you in just a second.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Matthieu, how are you, my friend?
Hey Jeff, I'm so excited to be on your show. I love what you're doing, and we already talked offline, and there's a great connection. So thank you already for having me.
I am really enjoyed the conversation ahead of time and look forward to sharing that with the audience. So when we kick off here, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you get to where you are today? From kind of short start to finish there.
Yeah, great question. So I grew up on a family farm. My brother and farmers still today are farmers, and
Mhm.
by the time I was between 3 and 5, I got extremely fascinated about plants. By the time I was five, I told my parents I want to start my own vegetable garden because our farm is mostly cash crops and cattle, not
Okay.
much vegetable growing. So I started building my own garden, learned a lot from that. Fast forward, I continued my life. I always did some jobs in gardening, like as a teenager, and
Mhm.
then I started to study landscape garden design. So that I got a bachelor degree in Belgium. Then I was like, I felt hungry for more. Like I could start my own local gardening business, but it wasn't made for me. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm going to study a master degree in Germany because Germany
Mhm.
is really known for like high level landscape architecture.
And you're originally from Germany, correct?
No, I'm from Belgium actually.
Oh, you're
So
from Belgium.
yeah,
Okay. Got it.
so it's all small areas in Germany. It's just a few hours drive, right? In
Yeah,
America,
exactly.
it's in that sense. But yeah, I studied in Munich, finished my master degrees, really loved it, and then I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna get my 9 to 5 job, and I did. I did what kind of was expected from me, and I was really excited about it. I still remember like applying for jobs, which was like a kind of a struggle. But then you get your job as a foreigner, even because
Mhm.
I was not native to Germany.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I started my first job with like high hopes, and I still remember I had my suitcase, like it was like all these
Oh,
stereotypes. And
only
I was,
30 more years to go.
yeah, in a way, yeah. I actually I already was starting my own business on the side,
Mhm.
like doing a few garden designs for friends and family. But then, yeah, I started off with high hopes in Germany in a really renowned company, and after being in the job for a couple of months, I was realizing like, oh shit, I'm here in a business, and I'm doing. I want to be outside. I want to work. I want
Yeah.
to travel. I want to do all these things, but I'm in front of a screen
Mhm.
90% of the time, and I'm super grateful for that time actually because I worked in Germany. I got to like really get into the engineering part of landscape architecture. So I learned structure. I learned how to run a business even. So I kept my eyes open. But
Yeah.
after doing that for 2 years, working in two different companies, I said like I'm kind of like depressed, burned out, something in those lines. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit my job, hit the road. I
Yeah.
bought a backpack, packed my bag with some clothes, and I said, okay, I'm gonna somewhat live as a hippie and travel the world with a super low budget because I had some money saved up. And I said, I'm gonna visit all kinds of projects that are super inspiring. So
Yeah.
I went to eco resorts, I went to hotels that were doing amazing work, I went to work on farms across the world, regenerative farms. So
Cool.
learning from to open my eyes. Did that for a year and a half. I actually wanted to, and I wanted to continue traveling, but then Mother Nature had some other plans for me. I got really sick. I went to the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador, one of the most beautiful places in the world that I've ever seen. Like the amount of
Hmm.
plants and the biodiversity. But to be honest, it's quite a hostile environment. Like there's
Yeah.
spiders, snakes, we see crocodiles, and also mosquitoes that can give you some diseases. And I didn't spray enough, and I got sick. And now I look back at it, kind of jokingly, that Mother Nature said, like, "Hey, you've seen enough. You studied,
Yeah.
you worked some jobs, you have some experience."
Time to
Uh,
stop playing. Now we need to actually get back and do a little bit of work now. And
exactly, that's how I looked at it. And from that experience, which was actually one of the most difficult times in my life, I got sick. My girlfriend dumped me. I was out of money, so I was like rock bottom in a way.
Mhm.
And then from that experience, I really started to reshuffle my cards and be like, okay, well, what do I really want in life? Okay, I want to
Mhm.
be free. I want freedom. I want to be able to live where I want. And from that experience, okay, I said, I'm going to start my own business. I had some contacts. I co founded my company, Paulonia Landscape Architects, with someone. And yeah, that business kicked off. Obviously, is not an easy road. It's a kind of
Mhm.
definitely a roller coaster. It's been 4 years now, and from that experience also, I was doing mostly one-on-one work for clients. Right, I come
Yeah.
in, I design their garden, I do all the work, everything that's like design and pretty much what a normal architect does. But then for outdoor
Sure.
spaces, we're also starting to add some really bigger projects, and it's really interesting. But I'm also feeling like, wow, there's a limit. My time
Mhm.
is limited. I
Yep.
could get some more people involved, but then you have to really get good at people management, which is a whole other skill.
Yeah.
And around that
And
time,
you find yourself being pulled farther and farther away from what you really love, which is the
exactly,
architecture
yeah,
part.
I was exactly that was I was fearing a little bit of that because I love designing, I love creating,
Yeah.
and I love helping people to become successful at gardening, at farming, because I also consult farmers around the world. I consult gardeners. And then I had a client, I told you the story before that. Okay, I had a client that said like we had completely transformed their garden, private client. They said like, wow, I love the design, you made something really unique, but you know what, I'm sick and tired of landscape architects now. I want to experience it. I want to make my hands dirty. I want to know what it's like to create a beautiful space. And it kind of struck me because I was already playing with this idea. Why can I not teach people how to do it? Because we're
Mhm.
moving in a world where AI is taking over a lot of our work. We actually,
Mhm.
if you do your business well, you can create a lot of extra time. And she was also a business owner, and she was, yeah, had a very successful career behind her, and decided she wants to spend more time in her garden.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to teach you everything that I know, and I'll cut all the bullshit, and I'll get straight to like what you need to get results in your garden.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talked about it earlier. We can talk about it more. But that's kind of where I'm at today. And now currently
Nice.
I'm living in the Azores because I said like it's too cold in Belgium, especially in winter,
Yeah.
too much rain. So I came to the Azores. I kind of like come here. I post that I'm on the island on Facebook groups.
Mhm.
People need my help. And I figured out I'm in the middle of the ocean, but it's also a bit of a blue ocean. I don't know
Yeah.
what the blue ocean concept. There's not many other people that do what I do. I've
Yeah.
come only across one. So many people need my help here,
Well,
and a lot of
and it's literally a
immigration.
year round. Yeah, it's a year round beautiful weather. So the gardens, you don't have to plan for winter or plan for hot summers. And
Yeah, exactly. And the island is really exploding in terms
okay,
of tourism development. There's lots of opportunities going on that also
huge.
come with some challenges, but that would be
Yeah.
probably a conversation for some other time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, you've always got a place to go back into Belgium in the summertime.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. So let's talk a little bit about, you've kind of tacked that business to say, okay, well, I can only do so much. I mean, I'm limited. And all of us look at that from a scale perspective. How do we scale up our businesses? So I think you've determined, okay, this is one way you can scale by teaching people.
Mhm.
Um, what was your thought when it came to that about giving up this knowledge that you have? You know, were you were you worried that if I gave that up, I might not get those high paying clients like I had before?
Yeah, that's a great question because some people, when I tell them my business and what I do, they're like, "Hey, but you should be careful. You're putting yourself out of business."
Yeah,
But I think that's a bit of a scarcity mindset because some people can also not afford my one-on-one services. Like these are
absolutely.
quite expensive because we do everything for you and we do it fast. So
Mm,
that has a price tag. Whereas if you have more time yourself and you want to invest to learn a skill, which is
mm,
like you only learn it once, but you keep it for the rest of your life, which is like there's a huge value, even though it's way more affordable. So that's where it kind of started. And but yeah, to be honest, at the beginning I was skeptical myself. Like I started to invest in business coaches because
mm,
okay, I'm super grateful that I did it. I started out when I was starting my own business. Like I got some people involved that can understand me, that can help me, because that really won me a lot of time looking back at it. And one
mm.
of my coaches said like, okay, you just give everything that you have. Don't hold back, because even when you share all of your knowledge and everything that you know, some people will also get overwhelmed with the amount
Yeah.
of work it actually is. And then your clients will also understand like what you're doing, because many people often think like, oh, just a garden design, put some plants left and right. No, there's a science behind it. You have to study it. You have to like,
Mhm.
it's not that easy. And then I told you the story, like some of my clients that because my that business of teaching it to people is completely online, which is also
Yeah.
quite unique for something that people will think like you have to do it not behind the screen, but it works because my clients are
Mhm.
getting crazy results. So I had one client in Australia. He was following my course. He was enthusiastic about it, but he was a busy businessman still. So he ended up not showing up to all my classes. And I called him like, "Hey, if you want to get the results, you have to show up and follow my advice and everything." And I just was maybe a little bit bold. I don't know.
Mhm.
And I said, "Shouldn't I do it for you?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm so busy. Yeah, come and do it." And I made him a really high offer because I'm from
Yeah.
Belgium, have to all my expenses, my time, and he
Mhm.
accepted it. I was like, okay, interesting.
Deal.
And I went to Australia, designed the garden there, went to his property, and it's really cool that from this new angle that I can help people across the world, it also ends up being interesting to have more clients in
Well, I mean,
from
yeah,
all
and I
over.
mean I look at it. I write mostly books and do courses, and I look at it as I'm training my future clients. I'm explaining to them. Here's my framework. This is the way I do it. This is what's unique about me.
Hmm,
And if you want this strategy or this framework,
yes,
I'm it. I'm the one who came up with the idea.
I love it.
So boom,
I
done
love that
at that
approach
point.
because that's even more bold. I think
Yeah.
I'm looking at a book. Alex Hermozi. Are you familiar
Yeah.
with him? He's
Very
a
much.
great guy.
Funny thing. It was during Christmas. I think on the night before Christmas, I was interviewing a guy from. He's from Germany, but he's living in like the Czech Republic or like the Slovakia or something like that. I mean, it was
Yeah,
like the most off the wall place. And I'm interviewing, and I'm like, dude, it's 5 o'clock my time, so it's got to be Christmas your time at this point, And so yeah, but I had to do this podcast and all this, and he was the first one that introduced me to Alex Hermosi, and I read the first book in less than 2 days. Bought the second book, read the second book, watched all his online courses, and I
wow.
mean, it completely changed my business
Yeah,
overnight.
that's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it. And he's giving away everything for free. How to build a
absolutely.
business
Yep.
completely for free because his business is acquiring businesses.
Yep.
So you're getting exposed to him. So that's building trust. And when
Mhm.
your business takes off, who is the first person? And you want to get like really big. Who's
Yep.
the first person you're gonna call or get in touch with when you want to, yeah, sell your business? You'll probably very likely call him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and he'll take it that next level for you of saying, "Hey, I'm going to partner with you and bring resources and everything else."
Yeah,
It's a genius idea,
yeah, and you
in the
speak his
end, and
language
and
when you
he doesn't have a
communicate
lot
with
of
him.
people that waste his time because if you read his books, if you follow his program and everything else, in the end, you're going to have success, or you're just not going to be worth anything to him in the long run. So it's a genius idea with that approach. So I love the approach, and I credit you for just having that mindset to say, okay, let's just tweak this and educate as many people as possible. We'll have a lot more beautiful spaces in
Yeah.
the world, and not you. There's not enough of you to go around for the entire world.
Nice. And Jeff, I'm just a little bit curious. I don't know if you covered it in some of your past episodes. I haven't listened to all of them. That what do you think was the most valuable part from Hermosi's work?
Well, so for me, it was how to craft an offer, which is the $100 million offers. And the cool part was after I read the book, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go back and read the book again because there's just so much. And I didn't have time because it was funny. I was teaching a course on sales for a local incubator. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to teach the garbage that the incubator wanted me to teach. I'm like, I'm just going to create a course overnight. Yeah, I'm just going to create a course that teaches how to put together an offer and how to get leads. Because that's the most important thing about sales. The process, you'll figure it out, but it's that most important piece.
Hmm.
And so I ended up, I was like, man, I'm running down to the wire. I got to get this thing done. And I actually used ChatGPT and said, hey, I need to create this course on this. Boom. And within like 15 minutes, I was able to create the course, all the slides, and get that done. And then I took it to the next level and said, okay, now I'm using it for all the stuff that I'm working on. I just go into chat and say, hey, I want you to follow Alex Hormozi's approach, $100 million offers, help me put together an offer. And, it spits it out, and we have a good chat and conversation. So, it's for me, it was the offers. And then in the $100 million leads, it was using your warm market, because I'm like, man, I could spend all kinds of money on advertising and all this, but I've got, my LinkedIn, I've got almost 15,000 people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. If I just reached out to every single one of those that would be a potential client,
Oh yeah.
you know, that's, and so that's my strategy for the next probably 6 months is 100 people a day, reaching out to 100 people a day consistently off of LinkedIn. And, just by rote, but by just work at that point, I'm going to come across enough people that are going to want to become involved in the
Oh yeah.
programs
The
I'm
numbers
developing.
game.
Yeah. It's
I love it.
consistency. I mean, that was the thing I got out of it, was just be consistent, which is one thing I'm extraordinarily good at. And I use a lot of automation to do that. So it's just like, just keep it going every day, and
Yes.
you'll
You-
come across enough people that will need your services
Oh yeah.
in the
Totally.
long run.
What kind of, just out of curiosity, you don't have to say, but what kind of software you use for automation?
So for LinkedIn automation, I use one called Dripify.
Oh yeah, I have that.
I used to use Octopus, and I don't know what their relationship is with Dripify, but Octopus was okay. It wasn't great, but for some reason they were offering Dripify at one time, and I was like, okay, well, I'll try it. And I ended up upgrading to Dripify, and their platform is phenomenal.
Hmm.
And so I use it for anything LinkedIn, LinkedIn uh, funnels, everything else is through there.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what from what you're seeing with the core stuff, you've been doing it for just a little while. What do you see as the future when it comes to the courses? I mean, are you going to continue to kind of have like higher levels or more advanced versions of it, or just push hard on what you have already?
I think pushing hard on what I have already and repackaging them in different approaches.
Mhm.
So that several people with different times or different expectancies, then they can get the same result. So I was just thinking, actually, from our conversation before, that my course is 9 weeks. It's completely online.
Yep.
We meet once on Zoom a week.
Okay.
I'm sending out modules like also I'm drip feeding you the content so it's
Mhm.
manageable. So you don't have to actually spend more. Actually, you don't have to spend more than 30 minutes. No, 2 to 3 hours a week is enough to get the
Okay.
result. At some point, there's some more work that need to be done. I think in 1 week you do have to spend like 5 hours a week, which is still manageable.
Mhm.
And then I figured, okay, for some people the 9 weeks can even be a big commitment. So why
Yeah.
can I not make it like a weekend
Mm.
masterclass crash
Yeah.
course? And teach exactly the same. We go through all the modules together, and we get you the results in that weekend. So
Mhm.
you could actually completely redesign your garden within a weekend. So you just have to like block the time, be there for 3 days. Probably 3 days. I need to do it at least to get
Mhm.
through everything. Make sure that everybody gets their
Then
questions.
you end up recording that whole thing, and you can then turn it into a what I would consider a lower end course. Where it's like, okay, where you don't necessarily have to be involved in that. You just take that all that recorded stuff, break it up into logical segments, take the take the questions that you got, and if you didn't cover those during the class, just record extra segments answering those questions, and boom, you've got kind of a lower end starter course that
Yeah.
you can offer at that point that may up then you can upsell to that next level where, hey, you're more involved in it.
Yeah, I agree. And I can see how it can be valuable for people, especially now spring starting. I don't know
Yep.
when this episode will be out, but currently spring is starting. So
Mhm.
if they sign up now, they still need 9 weeks, which you're gonna miss the season to plant. And then if I start doing it now, you can immediately apply the knowledge
Yeah,
because
just
you have to
compress
have
it
like
together. Hey, you're going to learn everything I can pack into your head, and then you can always just give them free access to that course after you put it on there, or it's like, okay, they can go back and because it's a lot of
catch up.
money or a lot of information to jam into their heads. But
Mhm.
man, if you can get a result quickly for them, where it's like, okay, they don't have to spend 9 weeks, and they've really got no results in that 9 weeks, and make it really impactful
Yeah, I
at
agree.
that point. Yeah,
Totally.
I think that's a phenomenal idea. What's new in your world? I believe you've got a book out, right?
Yes, exactly. I just launched my book that's actually gotten an award. Um,
Nice.
so it's called 12 Universal Laws of Nature: How to
Okay.
Get the Most Potential Out of Your Land.
Nice.
And I launched it. It's quite funny. I launched it, of all places, I launched it on a cruise ship from Vancouver to Alaska in international waters. So I'm an
Brilliant.
international award-winning author in that.
I
well,
love it.
it is. My publisher is in Canada,
Okay.
but yeah, I published it because I wrote this book because I saw that there's like, you're a gardener as well, right? So
Yep.
the way nature works is that there's certain laws of nature. Like nature has been working in a way for billions of years.
Hmm.
Now, if you're a gardener and you're trying to work against that, which 95% of the people are doing, they're using chemicals, they're weeding all the time, they're
Hmm.
like fighting against just keeping up with it,
Yeah.
which creates a lot of frustration, overwhelm, and then and oftentimes they just end up getting rid of everything and just making it super boring. Maybe have lawn and a tree, which
Hmm.
is, yeah, that's not what I create. So I figured when you can understand how nature works, because if you look into nature, there's no maintenance.
Hmm.
There's literally no maintenance.
No.
but and if we can use that knowledge of how nature is working, apply that to our own gardens or our own farms, then and still using design as a tool to create something beautiful, because you could also just let your garden become wild. It's not very appealing, maybe for
Mm-mm.
some people it is, but we can still use design but use the knowledge that nature has already provided. Then you can become super successful at farming or gardening. And I see my clients, like my one-on-one clients, I apply all the knowledge that we have around that, and the people that are doing it in the course, man, your maintenance becomes so little in your
Yeah.
garden. Like I have a client that we really nailed it, that recently, one of our recent projects, and the garden is 3,000 square feet.
Good Lord.
It's not huge, but it's not small either. And we applied everything, and they wanted to have like a full-on garden with edible plants, flowers, like everything pretty much that you can imagine that makes a beautiful, high diverse garden.
Hmm.
And it only took 12 hours of maintenance in 9 months, and then it kind of became winter. So that's huge, because a lot of
Yeah.
gardens that are being created and don't apply this knowledge, They just make something that looks pretty in the beginning, and then the garden designer leaves, and the contractor who built it also leaves, and then they have to maintain it because the weeds are
Yeah.
overgrowing it. It doesn't work. It's not like an ecosystem, because I'm
Yeah.
creating ecosystems that's kind of self-maintained, not 100%, because it's impossible. You still have to do some work. But what is 12 hours in 1 year?
Over a
That's like
year. Yeah.
half a
Well,
less
it's
than half
funny
an hour
because
a week.
since I've lived in Austin, we've had gardens since we moved to Austin. We didn't garden where we used to live, and we moved down to Austin. The weather is just really kind of for 9 months out of the year, it's great, and then it gets hotter than all blazes, and nothing grows. But it was funny because I built gardens, I built raised bed gardens, used commercial potting soils and stuff like that, or commercial garden soils, and
Oh no,
every year by
right.
midsummer it was
Everything died.
overgrown with weeds, and I was constantly ripping stuff out, and it just got frustrating. And we would just get to the point where it's like, oh, I don't even care anymore. So we would only garden from like the spring until it got hot in the middle of July, and then we just stopped gardening, didn't garden in the fall. And I was introduced to a book. I can't remember the guy's name,
Bill
but it's
Mollison.
called, yeah, it's called Square Foot Gardening.
Ah, square foot gardening. Nice.
Yeah, and so I read the book and I was like, this makes sense to me. And inside there, they have a specialized soil that they have you create, and it's simple. It's peat moss, it's vermiculum or vermiculite,
Yeah.
and then or perlite. I think it's perlite or vermiculite, one of the two. I can't even remember what it is. They're kind of similar, and then just compost, and that's it. That's the whole. So, and you just create it. Takes no time to do it at all, and we replaced all of our garden beds with that. I have not pulled one weed out of our gardens in 3 years that we've been doing this now. The mix, because of the peat moss, because of the peat, it holds water. So even in the middle of summertime, when it is hotter than all the blazes outside, I go out and hand water for about 10 minutes, and that's it. That's all we water. So exactly homeostasis there. And then this year kind of went a little crazy because I had planted a whole bunch of asparagus, and then it just wasn't growing. And I'm like, well, crap, it died over the winter. And so I started planting some stuff in those boxes where the asparagus was. Well, all of a sudden, then it started coming up. And so I've got a whole bunch of squash plants, and you've got all kinds of asparagus coming up, and how they flower out
Oh
at the
yeah,
top.
they're big.
Well, the squash plants are growing like weeds,
Oh
and I
yeah,
think it's because
the
you've got two
synergy.
common plants that are kind of sharing nutrients with each other.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. There's in nature nothing is monoculture. It's all
Nope.
mixed.
No, I mean, so I totally agree with where you're coming from. I mean, and I think you need to. I would recommend people get that book because you're going to find that there's just kind of rules, and nature kind of came up with the rules, and don't mess with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll put the link to your book in the show notes page so that we've got that in there.
Yes,
Um,
it's out on Amazon.
Brilliant. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and go over to the fast five questions now.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So you wake up in the morning. This is kind of you in a nutshell, but you wake up in the morning, business is gone. You have $500 in your pocket, a laptop computer, place to live. What are you going to do first?
Do I get to keep my phone and my personal contacts?
I'll give you a phone and your contacts.
Yeah, I would just probably buy first a $10 bill for flat rate to be able to call people,
Yeah.
and I just start calling people, saying what I'm about, asking them what their problems are, what they're struggling with, and if I can help them for a very low amount.
I
And then
love it.
that's what I would do on repeat, and I wouldn't probably even need those $500 for anything other
Yeah.
than buying my food.
Just
So I can keep
just
doing
just
this as a
need enough to get,
hobby.
yeah, just prime the pump and get enough coming in, right out of the gate. Yeah, I love it.
Use that $500 to be able to eat.
Yeah.
and then just call nonstop.
Yeah. What's the biggest business mistake you've ever made?
That's a hard one because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But the biggest one is probably not listening to my coaches and kind of like thinking that I've figured something out on my own, and then
Mhm.
like abandoning the things that have worked because now you've got some success and you think
Yeah.
like, oh, I've got things figured out now. I don't need to keep doing what I was doing before, and then it
What
goes south.
what's that? Yeah. What does that person that's got 30 years experience in business know about this? I've got this.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
What's
probably stop doing what works, because when you get
yeah.
success, it's easy to lean back and then think like, oh, now it'll like keep coming on its own. No, you have to
Yeah.
like keep doing the reps.
Yeah. Well, and it's that consistency over and over and over again that's what keeps business coming in. What's a good book that you'd recommend for our audience?
When it comes to business development, well, we've talked about Hermozi. I love his book, but just to
Yep.
add one is probably, I'm currently reading it, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People
Great
from
book.
Carnegie.
Yep.
Brilliant book. Like
Yep.
I've had heard a lot about it, but I've somewhat never started reading it, and it's like full of nuggets. I think someone, even Alex Hermosi, said if you just learn that book by heart, business is like inevitable. You're gonna get clients.
I did a thing online. I think it was 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So I was going through my library, and I've got thousands of books in my library. And I found that book. I have an original, probably 1940s copy that
Wow.
I got from my grandfather after he died.
Mm.
My grandma was like, just whatever books you want. The rest of them are going to charity. Just take
Wow.
whatever. And I grabbed that book, and I had never read it, and I read it and I was like, this is amazing. And so what I did was, there's 26 concepts in the book. So what I did is, for an entire year, and I did this online for an entire year, I basically lived the philosophies of those. So every 2 weeks I changed, to another concept of that book. And I did that for 52 weeks. One of the best years of my life, one of the best years in business of my life that I did. Because I mean, a lot of it's just kind of common sense stuff, but we just don't think about it.
No,
Yeah.
and it's like a muscle. You have to keep
Yep.
training it, or
Yeah, and it is, because if you don't keep doing it, it's you fall back and, oh, okay, I can just do this, and you're not doing those consistent things over and over again. I honestly think it's a book that you could do that same thing every year and just live that whole approach over a year.
no, that's really
Love it.
clever.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, like I said, it was one of the most fun. I mean, I really deepened a lot of relationships as a result of that. And a lot of ones where I hadn't really, I knew people, or I was connected to people, and I really hadn't gone deeper with them. That helped me approach a lot more people as a result.
Hmm. Yeah, totally.
So, well, cool. What's a tool that you use in your business every day that you might recommend?
There's a few, but if I have to choose, I think just simple Gmail and calendar setup.
Okay.
Calendly is quite common, I guess, but not
Hmm.
everybody knows it. It's really
Yep.
easy to help you schedule meetings and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I always
because
tell the
I
story with
now live
Calendly.
in a world like if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist.
It
It's
doesn't
like
exist. Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, Calendly was one of those. It was one that I came to late in my career, because I had an assistant, and I'm like, I would just have Cindy do the bookings, but I was finding, as we got busier, I'd look in my calendar and I have all these, potential, to be announced meeting with this person, and there'd be like 3 or 4 different entries over different days, because she was trying to get back and forth with them. And I finally, during the pandemic, I was like, you know what, Cindy, I want you to focus on the important stuff, and we're just going to use Calendly. And I've never gone back,
oh yeah,
because it's so much easier. Somebody just, hey, pick a time in my calendar, and if it's in my calendar, it exists. If not, it doesn't exist at that point.
exactly. Yeah, and I also put it like some people might be like, hey, I don't know if it's true, but maybe some people might be offended. Oh, I have to now book a meeting with you. Like, but so I say, like, the way I phrase it in the emails and messages is like, this is easier for you because you can then
Yep.
look at my calendar and find the time that
Pick a
suits also
time
for you.
that's convenient to you, and then we'll go from there, and I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, last question. What is your definition of freedom?
To be able to live and travel wherever I want. When I get
Mhm.
to that level of like I can just do whatever I want at any given time and go wherever I want at any given time, I think
Mhm.
that's for me personally true freedom because I'm an adventurist. I like to explore.
Yeah.
I like going to new places. So that's my kind of freedom.
Yeah, I loved your story about Australia because you're a surfer. So it was like, okay, yeah, I'll come visit you and put your garden together, and then I'll go surf while I'm here. So
Yeah, exactly. And funny
love
enough,
it.
the project was in a place called, it's an actual city in Australia. I don't know if you know it. It's called Surfers Paradise. It's a
Yes, I know exactly where it is. Yep.
huge city. I had never heard about it, but
Yeah,
there's, yeah.
it's
So I was like, okay,
gorgeous
nice.
there. As long as you don't get eaten by a shark, because they have a pretty bad shark problem offshore there. So
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. They have some
yeah,
cages, and yeah, I was in the
yeah,
water. Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm alone here. Maybe I
yeah.
should get out now.
That's it. Get a few people around you so that you've got a buffer zone there.
Totally.
Well, Matthew, thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. If somebody wants to learn more about you, get your book, where's the best place to get information?
Yeah, so I'm on most social media platforms. So if you just Google my name, you
Okay,
can get me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn,
perfect.
and please send a message if you want to get started on your own garden, if you want to invest in nature. Like I
Mhm.
also help real estate developers to create something unique
Nice.
because the normal real estate developments are starting to kind of get a little bit difficult. But if you can create something unique, you can really add a lot more value to your
Hmm,
properties. And then, so yeah, please reach out on any
perfect.
of your preferred channels.
What's where can people, if they're interested in your course, where can they get information on your course?
Yeah, so I have a website called
Okay.
www.gardenofyourdreams.com, and that's the
Wow,
name of the masterclass.
man, you
And then
got
I think,
lucky.
yeah, exactly. And I didn't have to pay any extra. Nobody had the
Yeah.
domain. So that's pretty cool. And then if you do / free training, then you can
Uh,
actually get a 30-minute, like you can get a free training and put together some courses, like some samples, you could say, to
perfect.
see what I teach. And then you can also through there get to my Calendly link
Hmm,
and book a meeting with me if you're ready to take action and create
love
the
it.
garden of your dreams.
We'll make sure all that information is down in the show notes. So make sure, folks, if you're listening to this, go on to your platform, look for the show notes, and we'll have his links there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be right down in the description. So make sure you do that so you can take advantage of all the good stuff that he has and he shared with us. So Matthew, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you today.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me. And you're a great host. I love your questions and the content you're putting out there. That's
Thanks,
great.
my friend. Thank you, my friend. Well, folks, thank you for joining us on the show. We're glad to be back in the seat. We'll be meeting lots of cool folks here over the next few weeks, and we're making just a slight shift, a little bit more towards the business aspects. For those of you that are launching businesses, and for those of you that are in business, we're going to be talking a lot more about how we can make that shift in our businesses so that we can get ourselves where we want to be. I just launched a book this week called The Business Owner's Retirement Blueprint. So for those of you, you can find it on Amazon. It'll be a link in the show notes below. But that is completely focused on really the process that I've developed to help people get through that process of selling your business at some point in the future. So thanks a lot. We'll see you guys back here the very next time.
All in